So at the time I'm recording this, a new Assassin's Creed game should be coming out soon, unless they delay it again, which is fine, really, because we've kind of seen what happens when they should. And look, releasing anything with bugs is embarrassing, but could an assassination game with intentional glitches work? Well, let's see, because ladies and gentlemen, this is Dev Diary, a series where I try to make my own video games. So if game dev videos are your thing, consider subscribing to the channel and make sure notifications are turned on so you don't miss future videos. We're going with an Edo Japan theme to go along with the new Assassin's Creed game, and we're working with your typical top-down control scheme here. The player can move with WASD and turn with the mouse. They can do a sword swipe with left click and throw projectiles with right. The NPCs work in similar fashion, however, the NPCs are broken down into two different types: people and swordsmen. Each NPC has their own suspicion tolerances, which are important to their overall behavior. Both NPC types share a common idle state where they will simply patrol around, walking in random directions, but if the player gets too close, their sus levels will rise. Once they've reached the first level, the NPCs will become alerted. Eventually, the NPCs will start following the player if they continue to raise suspicion, and once the second level is reached, this is panic mode and where the NPCs differ in behavior. Regular folk will break from the player and find the nearest swordsman. When reached, they will quote-unquote inform that swordsman, instantly turning them hostile. The person then returns to their default state and continues on. Swordsmen, as you can expect, are like guards in Assassin's Creed. Once they're notified of the player's presence, they become hostile and charge the player. And when near enough, they will take a swing, which is all that is necessary to take down our hero in white. Now, swordsmen will eventually lose interest, especially if they lose sight of the player, but they're exceptionally persistent, though sometimes they do just like to stare down the player. I don't really know why, it's just kind of buggy like that sometimes. And speaking of which, fun fact, actually, the NPC AI was the first thing that was worked on for this project, and it was originally a lot more robust. Like, the NPCs were much more dynamic and would react to the world, like for example discovering corpses or blood or really anything out of the ordinary. But at some point, ironically during the implementation of the glitch effects, the entire system broke, so it had to be quickly rewritten and simplified to work specifically around the player's behaviors, all of which can be kept track of through our version of EcoVision. This mode can be toggled with tab and is a bit of a meta mechanic. First, it highlights NPCs by type, with swordsmen being colored yellow and targets being colored red. The red line is also a path that is generated to lead the player to their current target. The screen also shows any moments of suspicion and the radius that it's occurring in. So for example, swiping a sword within certain distances will send nearby NPCs into panic mode, and the same goes for throwing things. NPCs who are eliminated also give off a ring of sus, and finally, EcoVision also helps inform the player of which glitches are in effect. Which brings us to this reminder that if you enjoy the content, supporting me on Patreon can help me keep making it. Doing so can also get you access to exclusive content and downloads, and even early access to the weekly Dev Diary videos before they're released on YouTube. So there are 4 different glitches that can occur, which can actually change up the gameplay in considerable ways. First, sometimes the player's sword will be replaced with a wooden stick. Now lore-wise, we can assume that this is like the in-universe tutorial weapon, which does no damage. But on the other hand, this thing can knock NPCs around, so it should be noted that the stick will also panic nearby NPCs. The second glitch affects the player's 3 projectiles. Instead of throwing a knife, sometimes the player will throw a ball instead. This ball is nothing special, and it's simply a rubber ball that will bounce off of NPCs. No real drawbacks, NPCs won't get mad, unless you literally throw it directly in front of them. The third glitch affects EcoVision. This super rare glitch will point the player to the wrong NPC as their target. At that point, the player is left to their own devices, and as a result, I personally call these runs the murder hobo runs. The final glitch is another rare one that will completely change the player's controls. This will change the player's movement controls into a random order, and will also switch the throw and swipe attack commands. Now, I know 4 doesn't seem like a lot, but again, the NPCs breaking kinda ruins some of the magic. On the other hand, one aspect that managed to survive the culling was the answer to a run where the player can't deal any deadly damage. Like, originally the wooden sword was going to allow the player to knock NPCs into quote-unquote traps like fire pits or pitfalls. But with that gone, there there's still the option of goading NPCs into doing the dirty work for the player. I unfortunately do not have footage of this, but for example, throwing a ball or swiping near a swordsman can lead to having him take out a target by accident. Still, I can admit that it would have been nice to have more time to add more features, because honestly, this is a concept that I would actually like to see built on, either by myself or by someone else. There already exist roguelike modes in like Hitman, so what if the challenge extends beyond just weapon types or mission objectives? What if like literally all you could do was swing on people, or an entire run relying on NPCs to do the deeds for you, you know? Untapped potential if you ask me. So let me ask you, what did you think of the idea, and what would you add as a glitch that you think would make for a fun change to the gameplay? As always, I would love to hear your thoughts and ideas, so be sure to leave them in the comments. And if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like. But with that said, brings us to the end of today's Dev Diary, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.